The award-winning Beyond Vaudeville program with your host Frank Hope and your co-host David Green. Living legend Arthur Tracy, superstar Tiny Tim protege Izzy Fertel, poet Chairman Steve, and lots more.
Okay, thank you, David, for reading the credits, and welcome once again to the Beyond Vaudeville program. This particular episode is especially special for me because it has some of my favorite people. So this is, to me, an all-star episode of the Beyond Vaudeville show. I really want to get started right away. So, let me just thank some fans for writing in: Doug Spinuzza and Elaine Joyce and Mark Fox and Franklin Schaefer. Okay, and we want to thank Mr. Lerner and Mr. Hennigan for helping us with the cameras tonight. David, you want to thank anybody before we get started, or? Okay. All right. Well, maybe we'll just hop right to it then. We want to welcome our first guest. He's really one of my favorite singers. I first saw him perform live in 1980, and just every time he just gets better and better. So please let's welcome the inimitable Mr. Tiny Tim to the program. Oh, Mr. Tim, get your microphone here. It's always an honor, Mr. Tim, to have you on, and I also wanted to thank you publicly for inviting me to your wedding this past summer. That was.
Well, Mr. Hope, you're very appreciative, and it's a pleasure having you there. And nice being back on your wonderful show Beyond Vaudeville. And Mr. Green, nice seeing you again.
Okay, that was nice of you to say hi to him, Mr. Tim. You didn't have to, because he never returns the cordials. Now, I wanted to ask you on the computer the other day. I was tuned in, and you were doing one of these chats on the computer, and you mentioned in there that Michael Jackson has the mark of the devil. You said on there. Is that?
No, that was a very wrong statement. If they put that out.
Okay.
Once more, I said the shadow of Cain.
Okay.
I said the term was the shadow of Cain. That there was a guilt, in my opinion only, that there was a guilt, which I believed he did have affairs with these kids.
Okay.
And I said that he was suffering, in my opinion only. I could be wrong, but I want to reiterate that the term was the shadow of Cain.
Okay.
And that when Cain killed Abel, the Lord let him live, but he had to put a mark upon him.
Okay.
And so that it was my opinion that he still. It's only my opinion that he did have some affairs with these kids, and that if this current ailment that he had was serious, then if it wasn't, then it's another ploy. But if it was serious,
right,
then I think he is aware of that, and he used to be a Jehovah's Witness, and he's having that spiritual problem.
Oh, so he's being punished for.
Well, if that was not a ploy, then I think he is suffering spiritual agony, yes.
Wow, and that's Mr. Tim's referring to Michael Jackson had to cancel that HBO concert and got sick in the hospital, right? And now I read also that you had said that Elvis Presley, he might not be in heaven now, right? If he
no, I did not say that either.
Okay.
I don't know where they got these.
I'm sorry,
That's
Mr.
why
Tim.
the best thing with interviews is to always have a recorder next to you.
Right.
But unfortunately, that doesn't happen. But I'm sorry, what did you hear again, Mr. Hope?
It had said that you said Mr. Presley, even though he was a great performer, because of his lifestyle, if he is not alive, then he's probably not in heaven. That's what I.
Well, no one can judge that except the Almighty.
Right.
I can't judge anyone's sins. I got my own eyes to look at.
Right.
But the odds are that according to the way of living, that he would need a lot of prayer and intercessions on the judgment.
Right.
Whether it's from the Sweet Blessed Mother or whatever. If he is alive, however, I did say, if he is alive, that it's only my opinion that he might appear at the turn of the century.
Oh.
And the reason that he kept away so long is to give these Elvis imitators some work.
Okay.
You know, but that's only my opinion.
Well, I just mentioned those things because Mr. Tim is a spiritual man, and so you look at these performers in different ways.
The
I
biggest
guess.
sinner is right here. I need help every second.
Oh boy! Now I brought along some of your record albums that I just love to share because I just think they're the greatest.
Thank you.
This was the original. God bless Tiny Tim with the famous Tiptoe Through the Tulips, and then this was the second album with your parents, right, on the cover
Yes,
there?
but also on the inside, Rudy Valley. Mr. Valley was very nice to permit a picture there. May he rest in peace. And his picture is right here.
Wow, that's you meeting with Mr. Valley, and okay, and this was from a movie you did, right? You Are What You Eat.
I did it before the album came out, and Arch Winston of the New York Post at that time said, "May we never see him again."
Okay, and what else do we have? We have Red Fox, Where It's At. Oh, wait, I pulled that one by mistake. I'm sorry. Tiny Tim, For All My Friends, the kids album you did then, right?
That was my last record with Richard Perry and for Reprise in 1969.
Well, they're all great, and I recommend grabbing these and finding these if you
And you can
know
hold
what's
up
good
Red
for
Fox's album. He was great.
Did you meet Mr. Fox?
Never met him, but what he did with Sanford and Son was a superb classic shows on TV.
Do you watch much TV? I read that you watch the Robert Schuller program. Is that
The Hour of Power and just CNN News, the sports
Right.
basically is what I watch, and also scandal programs like Current Affair.
Hard Copy?
Yeah,
and,
the Inquirers of the television set these days.
right? And now, also speaking of scandals, now, Mr. Tim, you do appear on the Howard Stern program from time to time.
I just finished one.
Some consider him scandalous a little.
That's putting it mildly.
Okay.
But Mr. Stern, even though he has been termed that, and no doubt, I have to give him credit for standing up and be counted
Right.
to put his neck on the noose, shall we put it, and give his opinions square and fair what he thinks of other celebrities.
But he doesn't have the shadow of Cain.
I can't judge that. Only the good Lord knows. In the case of Michael Jackson, this was a public announcement to the press and a payoff to the kid who was involved with no going to court.
Right.
And anyone who doesn't go to court to defend himself,
Right.
usually the odds would be there's a reason for that.
Well, if Michael Jackson would like to come on the program to defend that, he's welcome anytime. Now, I did hear on the Stern program that one of your favorite things is Job Squad paper towels.
Now taken over by Viva.
And
Viva Job Squad.
I brought you some because you can't get these in New York.
Thank you very
right?
much, but they've changed the label. It's now called Viva Job Squad.
Oh.
The Viva company finally has decided to put their name in connection with this great tissue. And this is, I do, after every shower, when I can get Job Squad, always use this instead of cloth towels. And if I can't get that, then I will get Bounty because it is the quicker picker-upper, and I don't
like they
get
say on
nothing from
TV,
them. But
right.
if I had my way, I would use Job Squad first because it's as soft as silk and it takes so much less to keep yourself dry.
So it's extra absorbent.
Superbly absorbent.
And this, you notice, has a tulip on it. They have a print
Well,
with a
I
tulip.
didn't even know that, but thanks for getting that from me.
Well, that's yours, Mr. Tim.
oh,
You're welcome
thanks a
to
million.
have that.
And also, if I may add before anything else, that
Right.
when I was on Mr. Stern's show, I was just announcing my single Christmas release
Right.
called Suzy Snowflake.
Right, which is very entertaining. I was listening to it earlier, and there's a whole little story about the Suzy Snowflake, right?
Miss Montanti, Elisa Montanti wrote it, and the producer, and I'm grateful to record this song.
Yeah, it's really very special, and I recommend getting that. Asking your local retailer about that because it's entertaining.
Thank you very much.
Now, would you care to do a song for us?
My ukulele
Right.
was at the Howard Stern's, Mr. Stern show, and I saw my ex-wife there, Miss Jan,
Okay.
and I forgot everything, and I left it with her, and so far my agent, Mr. Knight, is not here to return it
Oh, boy.
from Headline Talent, and who knows where he is. But the thing is, but thanks for this, and help me, forgive me, because this is a little out of tune,
Okay.
but it's better than I got.
All right, so everyone understand this might be a little out of tune, but because that's not Mr. Tim's ukulele. Can I make a request, or do you want to sing a?
What request was that?
Well, I was hoping your original, the Ice Skaters song. Is that?
Oh, the one I wrote for Tanya Harding.
Yes.
That was back. I hope I can get it on this one. Though you are sighing, though you are crying, and everything has gone wrong, the world is waiting. Keep right on skating, skate to the Ice Skater song.
Wow, that was great.
Well, that was written.
That's just a little piece of
Well,
it.
it was written back in 1994 when the scandal was there in February.
Right.
And of course, she's had a rough time of it since. And,
Well, maybe she has the mark of Cain.
one can't judge. I can only know what happened, what the headline said, about Mr. Jackson's affair.
Right.
But if I can give you a snip of just an old great song from 1928,
Oh, please.
sung by the late great Johnny Marvin,
Okay.
one of the great singers of his day. After I've called you sweetheart, how can I call you friend? Why live a lie and pretend that it's true after the love and the kisses we knew? Let's both forget we met, dear. Every beginning must end after I've called you sweetheart. How can I call you friend?
Wow, that was great. Wow, thank you, Mr. Tim. We want to bring our next guest out so we can be together, and this is special for you too, I know. Actually, if you'd like to make the introduction, you're welcome to.
Well, I can only say, in all fairness, I just purchased 3 of his CDs today in Colonies, not only because I was here, but I wanted to get them 2 years ago, and I didn't. And only thing I can say, the late, still here, but in his prime, the great Mr. Arthur Tracy.
Arthur Tracy.
Wonderful street singer.
Please welcome Arthur Tracy to the program. Mr. Tracy?
You want to sit here?
Well, if you want to, let me just grab your microphone there. And, okay. Hello, Mr. Tracy.
How are you?
Pleasure to have you. Mr. Tim, your microphone is behind you there. Let me just clip that on. Tiny, is it? There we go. Okay. Now mine's stuck. Oh, boy. Mr. Tracy, one thing that Tiny Tim did not mention is your age, which I think is incredible. May I say what?
Well, I've just celebrated my 96th birthday, and on next June the 25th, with the help of God, I hope to celebrate the 97th.
Well, we hope you do too, Mr. Tracy. Mr. Tracy was known, of course, as the street singer in the popular in the 1930s, of course. And I brought one of your albums along. This was a collection of your great hits. And Tiny, you brought the CDs as well. Maybe we can show these too. Here we go. Oops, that one's upside down. Let me. Our favorites, okay, and the street singer with the hit Marta. I think we have a clip of that too. Anyway, this is it's really an honor, Mr. Tracy, because you were actually in the played for King George VI. Is that right?
That's right.
Well,
that was a command performance that was done at the Royal Albert Hall, and the accompanying music was played by 165 men of the Royal Navy.
Wow. And you were over there for 7 years over in Europe, right?
Well, I went there for 7 weeks.
Right.
And was held over for 6 glorious years.
Wow. And now, Tiny, I guess he was a real inspiration for you, Mr. Tracy, right?
Fantastic.
Well, of course. But you know what I would like to do with your permission, people are always asking, where can we get your CDs and the records?
Right.
I did about 600 songs.
Wow.
And there are 9 companies in England now producing CDs and cassettes. But I would like to, if I don't give them the number, they always find fault. Why didn't you tell me?
Right.
So may I now say that, ladies and gentlemen who are listening in, if you want to listen to beautiful music, this is a toll-free number, which I'll give you now to call 1-800-538-4200. Let me give it to you once more. If you call 1-800-538-4200, just ask for the street singer, and I guarantee you that you'll love it.
Okay.
And if you don't, you can send it right back to me, and you'll get every penny back.
Wow, that's quite an offer. I don't think even K-Tel does that on their record ads. That's a good deal. Now, Mr. Tracy actually started singing in the streets of Philadelphia just for pennies, right?
Yes. That was the beginning, which is a struggle. I mean, this is something that we all go through. There isn't a performer in the world that didn't have to struggle.
Right.
And unfortunately, there's no place where a person can get his warming up.
Right.
Into, you go along and you acquire experience, and then of course if you have that spark, if you have a little charisma, and of course the public, you ladies and gentlemen of the audience, you are the final judge, because when you take a person to your hearts and show your love for him, that creates a star. And that's when the managers, the agents, and the producers say they claim that they've discovered, but actually it's you who's discovered and made the star.
Wow. Well, that's some words of wisdom from Mr. Tracy there. And now you were actually known as a baritone because you had an unusual range, right?
I had 2.5 octaves.
Right.
And of course, I am a tenor, but having the deep range, the 2.5 octaves, I call myself a baritone.
Okay.
Doing the baritone and the tenor roles.
And now, Mr. Tim, any thoughts on what the music was like for you when you first heard Mr. Tracy's records?
I would like to tell you, this is an interesting little story. When I first came to England, I was welcomed by the then Prince of Wales, Edward.
Right.
And I was very nervous, I must admit, but his equerry, his secretary, standing outside with me before I came in, and I said, "O.B., what do I do? What do I say?" And he said to me, "Don't be nervous, Arthur. Just when you're introduced, when you're presented, just take a bow. And if he asks you something, you answer. If he doesn't ask you, you don't answer."
Right.
But I must say, may God rest him, the Prince of Wales put me at ease in 5 seconds. I felt like a buddy. And he said to me, "Mr. Street Singer," he said, "I have every one of your records." And of course, I couldn't call him a liar because that wouldn't be nice.
Right.
But actually, it was very nice of him to make me feel good,
Right.
the saying that he had all the records. But he stood up from the throne and he took off his little white silk glove. He had skin like a baby, pink baby skin.
Right.
And he said, "Mr. Street Singer, how long do you intend to stay here in England?" And I said, "Your Royal Highness, I shall be here as long as your subjects want me to stay." "Ah," he said, "you'll be here for a long time." Little did he know what he predicted, because I was held over for 6 glorious years.
6 years, wow. And this is almost like a history lesson, learning about the Prince of Wales and what a gentleman he was. Now, Mr. Tracy, please stay with us. We just want to make sure everyone comes out so we're all together. But I want to introduce another guest out who is actually was a protege of Mr. Tiny Tim. And please welcome the inimitable Izzy Fertel to the program. David, maybe you could move down a little so Mr. Fertel might sit down. Maybe move some of that mess you made over there, David, so Mr. Fertel might sit. David, please. Okay. All right, Mr. Fertel. Well, maybe if you can move that. It doesn't seem David wants to move, so maybe. No, that's okay. Maybe just grab a seat over on the side. Just move some of that junk that David made a mess of over there. I apologize for Mr. Green's behavior there. Is it okay? All right. Okay. There we go. Everything's under control. Just bring that over, Mr. Fertel. Now, Mr. Fertel, you first met Tiny Tim when?
Oh, many years ago. I exactly forgot the year. It's been a long time. I was introduced to Tiny Tim maybe about 5-6 years ago, maybe more.
Oh, I think it was more than that, because I think I saw
maybe
the two
8
of you
years ago.
In 1980, I think I saw
Maybe
both
so.
of you live.
Maybe so.
Wow, 73.
Maybe, in 73.
And
Okay.
now, could you two do your famous Donnie and Marie song together?
Okay.
Well, he knows it better than I. I'll let him do it. I'll get you the key.
Every Friday night, it is a delight. I can't wait to see Donnie and Marie. I want you to know I really love that show. I just want to sing and be exactly like Marie. Every night I wanna say my heart's so filled with glee when I turn on that wonderful program now on ABC. I want you to know I love to work on her show. I want to look and sing and dance and be exactly like Marie.
Yeah. Very nice.
Thank you very much.
Now, are you a baritenor, Mr. Fertel?
I think so. I was also hoping tonight that I don't know if this show will be on at the time, but since it was in the Christmas season, I was going to give you all a Christmas song tonight, like Deck the Halls or something like that, if that's okay with you.
Oh, well, maybe a quick line.
Deck the halls with balls of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la.
Wow. And also, I should point out that Mr. Fertel actually did a record of I Am Woman, and it was on Toilet Records, which Tiny Tim produced, right, Mr. Tim?
73.
73. Oh, okay. And how did you discover him, Mr. Tim?
May he rest in peace, my conductor he was related to his wife to be, and then I saw him in one of the Coney Islands around that Rockaway out there, and I believe he had something, and I just got together and did something.
Okay. And Mr. Fertel, you're all self-taught, right? You're singing, right?
Yes.
That's because Mr. Tracy actually went to a conservatory, right, in Philadelphia, or?
I studied at the Curtis Institute, which is the finest music school in the world.
Right.
And I'm a studied singer, of course.
And then you came out and went right into great success from there. Of course.
Well, it took 7 years of hunger and putting my belt tight another notch every day,
Right.
Before I got my break. And it was the audition that I gave to Mr. Paley, William Paley, the chairman of the CBS.
Right.
And must have done a beautiful show because he said, "We loved your voice, we loved your program. I'll give you 6 weeks to do or die. If you do, the sky is the limit. If you die, it's just an audition."
Oh.
But I've never looked back.
And Mr. Tim, you said you remembered listening to the X-Lax program that.
I don't know who gave me the cassette, but some fan and friend gave me the cassettes a couple of years ago.
Right.
And Mr. Tracy was fantastic as always. He had one of the sweetest voices, if I may say. I have learned a song that, if I may say, of the #1 song that Mr. Tracy did in December of 1936, which is "I'll Sing You 1,000 Love Songs." I don't want my wife, I don't get in trouble with my wife, but that's one of the songs I dedicated to my eternal princess in Texas, Miss Stephanie.
Oh.
And Mr. Tracy, I learned from his tapes, "I'll Sing You 1,000 Love Songs," a beautiful rendition that it's too bad the world today can't hear it, but I have it on the new CD again that I bought at Colony.
Yeah.
Okay, and well now, just so we make sure we have everybody out, I just wanted to invite out our resident poet, Mr. Chairman Steve, who was going to do a special poem for today. I had a special one set up for us. So, Chairman Steve, if you want to join us, you might have to move some of that stuff to sit down, though. I think. Okay, there we go. Oh boy, what a mess over there, huh, Chairman Steve? David made quite a mess out of that area, I think. Knocking all
I
the.
should do the one about Tiny Tim. Well, if he doesn't like it, I'll do it about Cindy Butler, who's like Sandra Bullock.
Oh, you have a special poem for Tiny Tim?
But the one for Tiny Tim I should do.
Oh yes, please.
Oh yeah, here it is. Here with Tiny Tim, as we tiptoe through the tulips, we can hear a pair of new lips. See him on the stage. That's him, none other than Tiny Tim, famous for his high soprano. We perform here mano a mano. I hope he sends a girl to me I can marry on TV. If at that my hopes are slim, there is the voice of Tiny Tim, whose records play to me for life and make me think he is my wife.
Okay, and now, Tiny, you took out a little megaphone there.
If I may, just for a second, I don't know how strong the batteries are. If I can get this, I don't know where this microphone is.
Well, we can close out with this. This is.
Well, this is. I just want to bring in the name of another.
Okay.
Like, if I can get this mic on
I think
here.
we have about a minute, Mr. Tim,
All right,
so we might want to get started.
Okay.
I'll give you mine.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Now
me,
this,
Mr. Tracy.
this will bring back the sounds of 1900 and. Can you hear this? Is it loud enough?
Okay.
All right. Well, this will bring back the sounds. If you can hear it, is it audible?
I think they have you. Okay.
You're a grand old flag, a high-flying rag, forever in peace may you wave. You're the emblem of the land we love, the home of the free and the brave. That's how it sounded through the horn when Billy Murray sang it in 1907.
So much, Tiny Tim, an honor as always, and Mr. Tracy, a legend on the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And okay, and thank you for watching the Beyond Vaudeville program. Thank you, Mr. Fertel.
Thank you
and
very
Chairman
much.
Steve.
Enjoyed it.